because you're not aligned because you don't understand your audience. That probably is the biggest problem that I see is what people talk about on the podcast does not actually give them an opportunity to monetize. Podcast Growth Nation, welcome back to another episode of Podcast Growth University, where we talk all things podcasting all the time. I hope you enjoyed our latest episode, my latest episode number 15, 3 questions you need to keep asking yourself. That is something that you are going to be able to practice forever, because those are 3 of the most important questions that I tell podcasters about every single day on the calls that I'm having. Today, I just swallowed water. It went down the wrong tube, so pardon my coughing if it happens. Today, for episode number 16, why most podcasters never make money. One of the things that I do as a coach and I do as a consultant when it comes to podcasting is I raise people's awareness to how do you make money as a podcaster and why aren't you making money as a podcaster? And at this point, I've probably done, 100, 150, 200 free calls with podcasters. And the things that I came up with today are really based on the most common problems I see, the things that really get addressed on every single call that I have. So if you're a podcaster, and you're not making money, and you're saying, I have no idea why this is happening. I talk about my coaching. I talk about my ebook. I talk about my PDF. I talk about my courses. I talk about my speaking, but nothing ever seems to come of it. I'm going to tell you why today. So for this episode, excuse me, I want you to think of, we're going to have 3 different things that we talk about. We're going to be talking about understanding your audience, and that is something that you are going to get sick of me hearing because you can always understand your audience at a deeper level. The second thing we're going to talk about is nurturing your audience. The third thing we're going to talk about is making sure you have an aligned offer. So let me start with understanding your audience. Okay. So many of the shows that I go on, I will do a free call with that person. So if you have me on your show and I feel like your message is aligned and I want to help you grow, I'll reach out and I'll offer you a free 30-minute call. What I often see is when I say, hey, give me the 10-word description of your show, or hey, tell me who is your audience and how are you helping them in a unique way? Going back to the previous episode number 15, who am I helping? So I literally say this, who are you helping? What are you helping them with? And how are you helping them in a unique way? You would be surprised how many people don't have that answer. Now, I know that's not news because I literally talked about that in the previous episode, but this is what I want you to think about. Okay. How well do you know your audience? That is layer 1. That is the very, very top of the pyramid. All right, cool. Second thing, how well do you nurture your audience? Okay, so number 1, people don't know who they're talking to. That is the number 1 reason people aren't making money. Because for most podcasters, you're not going to run ads. You're not going to do affiliate links. You're not going to do sponsorships. That's not the way that the vast majority of podcasts make money. Yes, the Barstools, the Joe Rogans, the big shows like that, they can make money with sponsorships. They can make money with merchandise. They have very big numbers. Most of us aren't going to have that level of listenership. So it's going to be a little bit different. So number 1, we don't know who we're talking to. Okay. Number 2, you aren't nurturing your audience. Now, what does that mean? Nurturing your audience means adding value other than on the podcast and other than on social media. So think about it this way. Somebody listens to your podcast and they love your podcast. Awesome. Where do they go from there? Where are they supposed to go from there, and why do they go there? Do you have a Facebook group set up? Do you have a freebie that you give away? Do you do a free Q&A every week? Do you do a free virtual meeting every month? Do you do free calls? Are you engaging with people on social media? Are you starting conversations? What are you doing to nurture your audience other than producing podcast content, sharing it on social media? That is the number 2 thing that I see. People don't know their audience. Therefore, they can't effectively nurture their audience. And when I say nurture, I really mean add value. If you continue adding value to your audience, the next eventual logical step will be for them to work with you in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they want to buy some sort of merchandise and they buy it from you. Again, I think that's pretty rare. And even if it's not rare, it's not a life-changing amount of money. So I'll just say that. But where do they go after they listen to the podcast? The vast majority of people I talk to, they say, well, I have one-on-one coaching. I have speaker certification. I have a book. I have a course. I have whatever it may be that is monetizable. This is the third thing that you must understand. You might not have a very aligned offer. Your offer might not be of value to your podcast audience. This is how it all connects. Okay. And I did this with a client the other day. I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you know your audience? And they said, I would say probably a 6 out of 10. I said, all right, cool. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well are you nurturing your audience? And this person said, probably a 6 out of 10. I said, all right, cool. On a scale of 1 to 10, how aligned is your offering based on the amount of nurture you're doing and your understanding of the audience? And I think this person said a 3 out of 10. And I said, I'm glad you answered that way. And here's why. If you know your audience at a 5 out of 10, your nurturing capabilities cannot be any higher than a 5 out of 10. Your offering cannot be any higher than a 5 out of 10 because you're not aligned because you don't understand your audience. That probably is the biggest problem that I see is what people talk about on the podcast does not actually give them an opportunity to monetize. They're having guests that aren't aligned and they're wondering why they're not growing. They're doing episode topics that aren't aligned with their overall show and what their listeners tune into them for. I did a podcast breakthrough session right before recording this. And I said to this person, I said, look, how well do you know your listeners? And this person said, oh, I don't know them very well at all. I said, how do you come up with the topics you decide to do? And they said, well, I try to just talk to the old version of myself. And I said, okay, I think that's valuable. That's a valuable perspective. We need to get very clear on who you're actually talking to. Are they ambitious humans? Are they people looking to improve their relationships? Are they older? Are they younger? Are they college age? Are they middle age? Like, we have to get very, very clear because that's going to change the way that we approach everything. I said, okay, how well do you feel like you're nurturing them? And there was none of that. There's very, very, very little nurture. Not posting on social media consistently. When you post on social media consistently, believe it or not, you're nurturing your podcast audience because that's where a lot of your podcast audience is going to follow you. There was none of that. It was very inconsistent and the posts were all over the place. I said, well, you're not doing a good job of nurturing. I said, do you have a Facebook group? And this person said, no. Okay. We need to build in some free value adds. We need to build in some opportunities for people to meet you behind the scenes or get more value from you for free. Now, I'm going to say 2 words here that I say very, very often on my coaching calls. And this is another reason why you have to have a bunch of places to nurture your audience. It helps your audience self-identify. Now, what does that mean? At Next Level University, my other podcast, we have a free course. And this course it's very, very, very high quality. I think we spent 10 or 12 hours on a Sunday recording this. It's all video. There's worksheets. It's really, really good. We give it away for free. Cool.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Hurvitz. So last year I wanted to quit everything. I wanted to throw in the towel. I wanted to hang up my microphone. And Kevin said, no. Kevin said, keep going, Jen. You've got this. And oh my God, I'm going to cry. And I did. Coaches need coaches, y'all. And working with Kevin has been one of the best experiences of my life. Oh my God, I'm crying. Kevin, you are the best. I could not do this without you. And thank you. Thank you for being you and the amazing human that you are.
When we give it away, people enter their email and then we know who they are. Awesome. Say we had 80 people download that course. 60 out of those 80 people, I had no idea they listened to the show. What did that do? Those 60 people self-identified. That is what the 2 words I use, or those are the 2 words I use very often. To self-identify means to reveal yourself as a podcast listener. I didn't know they were podcast listeners. Now that I know they are, how do I approach it differently? I can nurture them through adding value. Hey, Email, have you ever thought of joining Next Level Nation, our private Facebook group? Hey, we have a virtual monthly meetup. Do you want to come join? Nurturing the audience. Now, you have to understand there's a fine line between nurturing the audience and asking the audience. So you have to walk the fine line of that. But usually, if it's based on a place of value, it's a win-win for the listener and you. I would consider that a good nurture opportunity. My question for you, how many free things do you have set up? If you're trying to get people to go right from your podcast to giving you money, the likelihood of that is very, very low. The percentage of that is very, very low. And if you only have 1,000 listeners, the percentage is going to be so low that it's probably going to be zero. It's not going to be high. Now, third point and final point, if your offer is not aligned with who you're talking to and to the level at which you're nurturing your audience, it's never going to work. So there are a lot of people out there who have, say they have 1,000 downloads and they might have a really good quote unquote offer. And for those that might be new to business or podcasting or being an entrepreneur, your offer is the thing that you exchange money for. So for me, it might be one-on-one coaching or next level podcast solutions. That's the offer. We do blank, 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 blank for blank, blank, blank per month. Boom. Or 1 hour of my time is worth blank, blank, and this is what you're going to get out of that coaching. That's the offer. Your offer can only be as powerful and as specific and as aligned as your understanding of the audience. If you have an audience that is professional swimmers and your offer is running lessons, sprinting lessons, marathon lessons, it's not as aligned as it could be. Right? That is where people get stuck, is they think their offer is really good, but it's not good for the audience. It might be good for them. It might be really good for you and you saying, well, this is my offer. It's $5,000 to work with me. Is that good for your audience? Can your audience afford that? Based on what you know about them, are you setting up, and this is the question, this is the $1 million question. Are you setting up your nurturing and your offerings based on what you want to do and the amount of work that you want to do, or the amount of value that you want your listeners to get out of it? Because if it's only based on, I only want to do one, I just want to have a Facebook group, I'll post in there when I feel like it. Okay. My offering, it's $5,000 for 3 months if you want to work with me. Okay. Don't be surprised if you don't have a lot of positive results when it comes to that. If your audience is made up of people who can't afford that and they want to join a Facebook group that has a lot of engagement consistently, you're really setting yourself up not to be able to actually monetize. Why most podcasters never make money? Number one, they don't really stay committed to understanding and learning their audience at a deep level. Two, they try to skip steps and they try to send them right to the bottom of their business where they exchange value for money. They don't have any way to nurture the audience because nurturing oftentimes is free value. Three, the offer at the bottom of the business is either not aligned, it's not affordable, it's not powerful, it's not valuable, whatever it may be for who is listening to your podcast. If one of these is out of alignment, everything is out of alignment. If you're not nurturing enough, you're leaving money on the table. And it's very hard to take somebody. Think of this. If you're listening to this podcast, you most likely haven't reached out to me yet and said, hey, I want to give you X amount of dollars for your service, for what you guys provide. But if I had a Facebook group, you might do that. And I'm going to in the near future, there's a lot going on, but I will be pouring more into this. But if I had a Facebook group, you might sign up for that. You might do that. If I did a live podcast every week where I did a Q&A with podcasters, you might be interested in that. If I did a monthly live meetup behind the scenes where I just talk, I give a presentation and then we have a Q&A, you might sign up for that. But if I just said to you, hey, click the link in my show notes if you want to be coached by me, the percentage of that happening, the percentage of people to do that, very low. It's very low. I would rather you join me behind the scenes where I can add value. And if you're supposed to end up a client, if that's what is going to happen in the long run, then it'll happen. But I'm not pushing you somewhere that you're not meant to be. That is one of the reasons many people don't make money, is because they try to do it quickly. They say, well, you're a podcast listener, you should give me money. That's not true. Some people should just be in your Facebook group for the next year until they realize, you know what, I really want to work on blank more. I'm going to reach out to this person. I've had clients who I had conversations with for a year before they ever became a client. And it was just a nurturing, trying to add value conversation. I have people out there right now who I'm just talking to, I'm having conversations with. Will they ever become clients? Some will, some won't, but that's okay. Maybe they shouldn't become clients. That's okay. So I really want you to think about this. And honestly, it might sound simple. This might sound like a simple, fundamental understanding. Trust me when I say this is the biggest thing that I see when I'm talking to podcasters, and I am talking to podcasters every single day, almost all day, whether I'm on a podcast or I'm doing calls. So last three, I'll give it one more time, and then I'll let you go. Number one, how well do you know your audience and who you're talking to? I'm talking about how much money they have, their biggest pain points, the words that they click on. How well do you understand your audience? Number two, how well are you nurturing your audience? How well are you building a real, authentic, warm relationship? How often is that happening? And how value is what you are offering to nurture your audience? Last point, how aligned is my offering? So is it actually valuable based on the understanding that I have of my audience? I think that if you can really lean into these three, you will be in a very, very, very good spot. If you have one of these that is out of alignment, you're going to notice it. And again, what I do as a podcast host is I ask you a lot of questions. That's really one of the things I enjoy doing, because I think it makes you self-identify as, oh, wow, I don't understand that answer. I'm not sure what to do from here. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and think about it. Really, really think about it. Who is my audience? How am I nurturing them? And what is my offer at the bottom of my business? If you need any help, please reach out. Again, free 30-minute calls, no strings attached. I think I have one next week with a podcast listener of Podcast Growth U, so I'm super excited for that. As always, I appreciate you all. I know I'm supposed to, again, I'm breaking my own rules. I know I'm supposed to know I'll do this. Well, yeah, I'll choose the episode and you'll see it. I don't know what episode I'm going to do next. I'm trying to use the lessons that I get from the listeners of our other podcast and me going on all these other podcasts to figure out what is the most valuable content that I can deliver to you. So I don't want to lock myself into, okay, this is what I'm going to do next week. So I guess it'll be a surprise episode. But I appreciate you all. If you need any help, please do not hesitate to reach out. I'll have my link in the show notes. You can always DM me. My handle is @NeverQuitKid on Instagram. Thank you. As always, keep on podcasting. Talk to you next week.